The real reason, 62-year-old Jeff Bezos treats Lauren Sánchez so differently from his ex-wife. In June of this year, Fortune printed a number that nobody at that Venice wedding wanted to see in a magazine. In one single year, 2025, one woman gave away more money than Jeff Bezos has given away in his entire life. Not Bezos, not his wife, his ex-wife. $7.1 billion in 12 months, against a lifetime total of about $4.6 billion for the richest man alive. And here is the part that stops you cold. Everyone says he traded her in for a younger woman. He did not. MacKenzie Scott is 4 months younger than Lauren Sánchez Bezos. Both women are 56. So if it was never about age, what is he doing differently with the second one? Stay with us, because the answer was printed years ago by the journalist who knows Amazon better than anyone, and it starts in a rented garage in Bellevue, Washington. Start with what everyone can see, because the contrast really is that loud. Since 2020, Sanchez Bezos has been vice chair of the Bezos Earth Fund. In April 2025, she flew to the edge of space on a Blue Origin rocket, on the first all-female spaceflight, alongside Katy Perry and Gayle King. 10 weeks later came the wedding in Venice. 3 days, roughly 200 guests, a price tag reported at around $50 million, and protest banners hanging off the bridges. This past May, she and her husband walked into the Metropolitan Museum of Art as honorary co-chairs of the Met Gala, standing beside Anna Wintour. Last month, she was diving Fijian coral reefs and posting the photographs herself. Some of you have known her face for 20 years, by the way. Back in 2005, she was the original host of So You Think You Can Dance, before she left after one season to have her second child. Now hold that image, because we need the other column. Scott was married to Bezos for 25 years. 25? Sit with that and ask yourself how many photographs of her you can actually picture. There is a Vanity Fair Oscar party, where she turned up in a jersey dress that cost about $700. There is a handful of red carpets where she is standing a half step behind him, smiling politely, in the frame but not the subject of it. That is close to the entire visual record of the woman who was there before Amazon had a name. None of that was an accident. It turns out she wanted it that way, and to understand why, we have to go back to a hedge fund in Manhattan. 1992, a firm called D.E. Shaw. She has just finished an English degree at Princeton, she wants to write novels, and she needs a job that pays rent. The man who interviews her is the firm's youngest vice president. She gets hired. Her office ends up next door to his, and what she noticed first was not the resume or the ambition. It was the sound coming through the wall. She told Vogue about it years later. Quote, "All day long I listened to that fabulous laugh." So she asked him to lunch. Not the other way round. The 23-year-old woman with the English degree made the first move on the man who would later be the richest person on the planet. They were engaged in 3 months. They were married 6 months after that first lunch. Remember that detail, because it comes back at the end. She chose him July 1994. He tells her he wants to walk away from a very good job on Wall Street to sell books on something almost nobody was using yet, called the internet. She says go. They both quit. They load a van with a prototype computer, and they drive from New York to Seattle. She takes the wheel for most of it. He sits in the passenger seat writing the business plan on a laptop while the interstate goes by underneath them. The company almost had a different name. He wanted to call it Cadabra, as in abracadabra, until his lawyer heard it over the phone and said it sounded like cadaver. Then it was Relentless for a while. The name they finally landed on came out of the two of them hunting for a word that meant enormous, the biggest river on Earth. Amazon. They set it up in the garage of a rented house in Bellevue, outside Seattle. And here is where the version you usually hear gets thin, so let us fix it. She was not a supportive wife carrying coffee out to the garage. Britannica lists her role plainly. She did the bookkeeping, she wrote the checks. She oversaw the freight contracts, which in 1994 was the entire ballgame for a company whose only product was heavy paper objects that had to physically arrive at a stranger's front door. She handled the payroll problems and the travel money when there was nobody else to handle them. By every account, she was the company's first accountant. And years later, she wrote her own account of it. In the one letter she has ever published about her money, she listed the rooms, the converted garage, a storage closet in a basement warehouse, offices that smelled of the barbecue place next door, the distribution centers during the Christmas rush. She put every one of those rooms on paper herself so that nobody could ever tell her she had not been in them. Brad Stone, the journalist who has spent 2 decades reporting on Amazon, put it about as simply as it can be put. She was in that room in the early years, and she had a voice in it. So here is the first piece of your answer, and it is not the romantic one. By any ordinary measure, the first wife earned more of a spotlight than she ever got. What she got instead was a stage nobody built for her. And for most of those 25 years, she was in on that decision, because as Amazon turned into a monster, Scott deliberately stepped back. 4 children arrived, 3 sons and a daughter, and the way those 2 raised them tells you more about that marriage than any red carpet ever did. They let their children use sharp kitchen knives at 4 years old, power tools by 7 or 8. At a conference in 2017, Bezos explained where that came from, and he credited his wife, quote, "I would much rather have a kid with 9 fingers than a resourceless kid." She told Vogue they never hired what she called a flock of nannies. She tried homeschooling for a stretch. There were kitchen science experiments, chicken incubation, Mandarin lessons, off-season travel so the family could go places when the crowds were gone. Eventually, she put them all into regular school, partly so the money would not turn them into strangers among other children. That is the house, and she had one more thing going on in it. She had studied under Toni Morrison at Princeton, and Morrison later said she was among the very best students who ever came through her creative writing classes. So while the company she helped start was becoming a household verb, Scott was upstairs writing a novel in the hours she could scrape together between school runs. It took her 10 years to finish it. Picture that house for a second. Down the hall, the phone is ringing with reporters. Her husband is on magazine covers. The company is opening a Hollywood studio and buying film scripts, and she is in a quiet room at the top of the stairs, moving one paragraph around for an entire afternoon, working on something most of the people at his parties would never read. The Testing of Luther Albright came out in 2005. In 2006, it won the American Book Award. A second novel, Traps, followed in 2013. In 2014, she founded an anti-bullying organization and ran it herself as executive director under her own name. Stone's reporting names exactly what all of that was doing to the marriage. By 2018, he wrote, the 2 of them had developed, quote, diverging appetites for public attention. Sit with that phrase because it is the whole video. This marriage did not break on a Tuesday over a text message. It had been splitting for years along a fault line about how much of one life belongs to strangers. He wanted more of it every year. She wanted almost none of it. If this is the version of the story you have not heard before, subscribe. We go this deep on one story every week. Now, January 2019, they announced the divorce together in a joint statement, calm and affectionate, signed by both of them. Within roughly 24 hours, the National Enquirer, the tabloid sitting by the register at every grocery store in America, publishes the affair. She never answered it. Not one interview, not one line about the other woman. Not then, and not in the 7 years since. Think about what those weeks actually were for her. 4 children old enough to read, in a house where the story is on every screen and every checkout stand in the country. Every reporter in America wanting the one sentence that would have made her the sympathetic one forever, and she gave them nothing to run. Not a leak, not a friend of the family speaking anonymously. Nothing. What she did instead was arithmetic. Here is the part people forget. 4 months before any of it went public, in September 2018, the 2 of them jointly committed $2 billion of their own money to a fund for homeless families and preschools in low-income communities. They were standing at the same starting line, with the same money, making the same kind of promise as a married couple. Then the settlement gave her roughly 4% of Amazon, about 139 million shares. And in May of 2019, weeks after it was finalized, she signed the Giving Pledge, the public promise created by Warren Buffett and Bill and Melinda Gates to give away the majority of your fortune while you are still alive to see it go. Her letter runs 4 short paragraphs. The line people still quote is 10 words long. Quote, "I will keep at it until the safe is empty." Bezos has never signed that pledge. He has said he intends to give most of it away eventually. 7 years later, he still has not signed. So that is your second piece. 2 people walked out of the same divorce with the same information about the same money, and only one of them put a promise in writing. Now the scoreboard, and this is the part that made us want to make this video at all. As of the end of last year, Scott had given away $26.3 billion to more than 1,600 organizations. Forbes calculates that is roughly 46% of everything she owns. 46% of her wealth, not of her spare change. In 2025 alone, she gave $7.1 billion. According to Giving USA and Indiana University's School of Philanthropy, that one woman accounted for about a third of every large charitable gift made in the entire United States that year. And the specifics are what get you. More than $1 billion to historically black colleges and universities, $436 million to Habitat for Humanity, $70 million to Meals on Wheels America. In April of this year, unrestricted, no conditions, spend it however you need to. She does it without a phone call. There is no foundation office. There is no application form. Her team simply contacts an organization and tells them the money is already coming. Fortune reported that some nonprofits assumed the email was spam. Think about that for a moment. You are running a food charity out of a church basement, you open your inbox on a Tuesday morning, and you decide that a stranger offering you $70 million has to be a con. And here is the whiplash. She has given away $26 billion. Her Amazon stake has fallen from 4% to roughly 1.3%, and she is still one of the richest women in America. The stock grew faster than she could give it away. She has been trying to empty that safe for 7 years, and the safe keeps refilling itself. So what is happening in his column? In 2020, Bezos pledged $10 billion to the Bezos Earth Fund and committed to having all $10 billion out the door by the end of this decade. 6 years in, Fortune reports the fund has deployed about $2.4 billion across 335 grants. That leaves roughly $7 billion and about 4 years to move it. And the person that clock now sits with is his wife. That is her actual job, and we should say it plainly, because the comment sections about her almost never do. Sanchez Bezos grew up in Albuquerque. She won an Emmy anchoring the news in Los Angeles. She got her helicopter license in 2016 and started her own aerial film company the year after, flying camera work for movies. She grew up with dyslexia that nobody diagnosed, and she has spent years since campaigning for children who learn differently. She has been vice chair of that fund since 2020, back when she was only his girlfriend. She announced $37.5 million for ocean protection across 12 Pacific Island nations. She announced another $102 million for homelessness. That is real work with real money, and whatever you think of the wedding, she is not decoration. But by Bloomberg's count, everything Bezos has given away across his entire life comes to about $4.6 billion, against a fortune of $266 billion, under 2%. His ex-wife has given away more than 5 times that, with no gala, no carpet, and no interview. And last month, when the internet started passing that comparison around, Elon Musk went online to argue that Scott giving away $26 billion has actually made the world worse. That was the defense. He did not dispute the number. He objected to it being counted at all. So here is the third piece and the real answer to why he treats them so differently. It was never about which woman he liked better. Both of them are 56. Both of them are accomplished, and both of them built something before he was ever in the picture. The difference is what each marriage asked him to be. The first one asked him to share the credit for something 2 people built in a garage and to stay out of the papers while he did it. The second is a partnership conducted entirely in public, on carpets and rockets and magazine covers, where he is the name on the door and she is the one holding the microphone. He is not treating them differently because one is better. He is treating them differently because one of them agreed to be looked at with him and the other one had already decided she would rather be known for her own work. And look how that landed. He kept the fortune, the fleet, the fame, and a public mood that has turned on him so hard that his own Met Gala drew boycotts. She took her share, put her name on a promise, and quietly became the most generous person on the planet, while refusing to hold a single press conference about it. The woman nobody bothered to photograph for 25 years is the one the accountants cannot stop writing about. Remember the lunch? She is the one who walked over and asked him. She chose him at 23 with nothing. She drove the van, she wrote the checks, and when it ended, she was the one who decided what her half of it was going to mean. So tell us where you land tonight. If you believe Scott got the last word without ever once raising her voice, and we suspect you already know she did, say so in the comments and tell us where you are watching from. If you are new here, subscribe, because next week, we are looking at what those 4 Bezos children have quietly done with their own names. And the next time somebody tells you he traded her in for a younger model, you can hand them the dates. She is 4 months younger than the woman who replaced her. He did not trade down in age, he traded up in volume.